Our next talk is going to be super cool. I'm looking forward to this, and we've got another live demo. We're going to learn about how to mess with your smart TV system, and I'm guessing probably make it do things that it wasn't intended to originally. Is that right?
That's right.
That's excellent, excellent. Well, hopefully it does everything that it was intended for today, right? Yeah. All right.
Okay. Good.
All right. You ready to go? All right. Well, let's give a big party track welcome to Felix, and let's get this thing started. Have a good time.
Thank you. Okay. Is it on? Are the slides on?
Give me 1 second.
We still got to get the video setup up because I want to show you live how to exploit the system and so on. So I've brought a box, but we need to switch the video projector in between. So we are still working on this. Okay. Is it up? Here we go. Okay. There's no sound, starts very well. This is how my story begins. Who actually knows what that is? Sorry? That is Tatort. That's a German TV series. It's a crime series. It's almost as old as Columbo. The only difference is they are still producing shows and it's still running. So in some German families, it's a tradition that after the weekend is over, on Sunday evening, 8:15, you sit down, you switch on the first TV channel that was ever there, and that's still there, and you watch the show, new episode. And since it's a tradition, it's also something that my wife and I like to do. And we moved to a different country a few years back, and unfortunately we were not able to see this show anymore, and that's kind of sad, and that's the beginning of the story. So who am I? My name is Felix, and my passion is to take things apart and to put other things together that help to take things apart. Besides that, I like to be out in the snow or in the water. And to explain you a bit more what I mean by taking things apart, I like to hunt bugs and malware and collect them. I also like to research botnet takeovers and countermeasures, and I'm heavily involved in the Honeynet project. During my day job, I work around mobile threat research at a very nice company called Blue Coat. But this research I'm presenting is not only my own work. You know, every research has some supporters, and in this case, it's a group of people from a company called NSense, and they help me with this. So the background of the story is that we had this box, a Western Digital TV Live Hub. I actually have one on stage here. And it's a very fine piece of hardware. It basically makes your dumb TV smart. And if you have a smart TV, you get even more services and more possibilities to do stuff. You see here it's HDMI output. There are also 2 USB ports. It supports Wi-Fi then, and you can attach a keyboard and stuff like this. But what's more interesting is, because at the moment it looks more like an Apple TV or something like this, it also has a 1 terabyte hard drive in there. And that's kind of neat, because then you can upload all your movies, it's all in one device, you don't need an extra storage, like a NAS or something. So that's very convenient. The processor in there is quite slow, it's a MIPS processor, but that's also not responsible for playing the video. Actually, the codecs are all in hardware on the system, and they make sure that you can play the videos fast enough. back to the story. So this box already has all kinds of services on there which are quite nice, like YouTube and Spotify and stuff like this. And after we didn't have this TV show, Tatort, for some time, my wife actually said, you're always breaking stuff the whole time. Why don't you for once do something useful with this and put my favorite show on this box? And when your wife asks you something like this, you better make sure you please her. Actually, I hope my wife is not here because she would probably comment, well, what do you know about how to please me? Well, that's a different story, okay? All right, so let's start. Before we start, we are also going to release the modifications that we have done to the firmware. So we need a disclaimer. This is for educational or research purposes only. If you do what we have done here and you brick your box, it's not our fault and we will not help you or cannot help you. Also, if you lose any type of DRM keys and so on the box, it's not our fault. Okay, so much for the disclaimer. First attempt was we did an offline analysis of the disk that's in there. Basically taking it out, plugging it into the computer, see what's on there. And it started very, very lucky. We found a private partition on there, but after a few minutes we found out there's actually nothing of relevance on that partition. Just some offline storage for Spotify and NinjaTV, and besides that there's only the partition that holds all the data, all the videos that we uploaded. And swap. So that was nothing. Unfortunately, bad attempt. Getting some pressure already from my wife for wasting time. Second step, this box has an update mechanism. It automatically reaches out to Western Digital to check if there's a new firmware, and if there is, it asks you, do you want to install it, and it does all of that automatically. You can even download the firmware manually if you go to their support page and see what's in the update. So once we download all of this, we saw that there is a zip file, and in the zip file we have 5 different other files, and 2 that look like very interesting. One is a bin file and one is called BI2. They are 150 megabytes roughly, and we want to see if we find something that we can recognize in there. And fortunately we did. There's a Squash FS file system in there, but it's at offset 32. So I still need some people drinking with me tonight, so you get a beer if you can answer what the first 32 byte might be. If you guess right. Any ideas what the first 32 byte before the actual file system image are? Signature. Very good. Who said it first? All right, come back later to me, I'll buy you a beer. Perfect, yeah. And it turns out it's an MD5 signature of the whole image. And so we started researching this a little more closely, how the images look like, and actually what you see is you have 2 different images that compose the whole operating system on the device. It's a Linux system. Image 1 is the root file system, basically from everything from root downwards. It has an end signature including the size, and at the very beginning, like the gentleman just mentioned, there's the MD5 of the whole image. This MD5 is then also appended to the second image, which is usually mounted at /opt. And this again has another signature in the very front to make sure they all fit together and nothing is broken. And those 2 together basically make up the image. Now let's look into the content. That's a bit small, I understand that, so I'll explain it. On the left side you see the main image, the root image, and that has the usual init process, which initializes the whole device. It has a config file with static config, and it has another file with MD5s. You will see there will be lots of MD5s in this presentation. It seems like Western Digital likes MD5. On the right side, there's the opt folder, and there was one interesting folder called web server, which actually looked quite interesting. So with this, there was enough information to actually modify the box, but we were a bit hesitant about whether we should just modify the firmware and upload a new one, for the reason that we were not sure if they didn't have more MD5 checks there, and it looked like they had a lot. So we were a bit hesitant to modify the firmware and maybe just brick that single device that we had. The other option was, let's go hunt for some vulnerabilities. Might take more time, but it's also more fun, right? Okay, so vulnerability finding. First thing was to look at the web server. This thing has a web server. Let me also quickly switch to, where do we have? Firefox. Here we have Firefox. And this is live on the box now. So you see, that's the access. When you log in, and the password is admin, by the way. When you log in, you get a remote control, but you can also change the password and so on. So that looked kind of promising. And fortunately, the PHP that is used to change all the configuration is not encoded, encrypted, or anything. It's just there in plain. So that's always a good start, you know, starting from the web server. SQL injection. That was the first attempt. And as you can see, there's a very nice SQL statement at the bottom, which is composed of parameters right from the GET request, like entry ID, language ID. Perfect, and that's using SQLite. So here's the statement that would actually create an SQLite database that's at the same time SQLite and a valid PHP file. Does anybody here have experience with the PDO database driver? Somebody over here? What's the problem? Don't see it. PDO only allows one statement at a time. And we wanted to inject 5 statements here. So, unfortunately, it didn't work. And even if it had worked, we found out later that this part of the file system is actually read-only. So, no chance at all. Bummer. Okay, being on the web server track, next thing to try was remote file inclusion. And what we found out is there's a remote file inclusion or a file inclusion possibility based on the language, which is stored in the cookie. So let me switch back to the web server. And you can see there you have to enter a password. And down here you can select the language. Okay, I have a cookie editor up here. And if we refresh it, you can see there's a language ID of 3 in here. So we were wondering, okay, can we just modify this, adding a few dots, adding a few slashes? Do you want to save? Did I press the right button? The screen's a bit far away. Yeah, I did. So as you can see, now we get an error message saying, oh, it didn't find the file home.php. And then we thought, okay, why not just upload a file called home.php to the folder that we can access via SMB. And then modify the cookie to point to that, and actually you can calculate the path just by looking at the firmware. Okay. I pressed the wrong button. Sorry, the cookie editor is really small and it's hard to see the screen actually from here. Okay, wow, nice. Now we got a PHP shell. So those of you who have worked with PHP shells know that they are a pain in the ass, right? So the first thing you want to do is try to figure out if there's telnet on there, and actually telnet was on there. So we want to activate it, get onto the box, and I have to admit, my background is usually not too much the embedded devices, but more like the PC world. And usually when you own the web server, the next thing you do is think about privilege escalation, right? So same thing here. Let's go and telnet into the box. And in order to know like from which account to escape or to get the privileges, first you figure out which account you are, and whoop! Hey, we're root already. Oh, this was significantly easier than I expected. But you can also see my stupidity on the screen, because actually the PHP shell already tells you that you're root. Okay, nice. So this was just the beginning, because we were able to get root. But a lesson that I had to learn during the experience is don't start with SQL injection, don't start with a remote file inclusion, don't start with privilege escalation, stuff like this. Look for the really low-hanging fruits. So investigating the image a little bit further, I found that actually the guys from Western Digital had put up a symlink from the web server's root directory right to the disk. So it was not even necessary to upload or to try to exploit the system. And I'm not quite sure if they have just forgotten it or whether they wanted to make it simple for people. Because if I just say user home.php, and that's pre-authentication, no authentication at this point, I also get the shell, just in a different directory. Ah, that's nice. So, but I thought, if it's that easy, we probably find even more stuff. So, if you have seen the first talk this morning, hacking 22 things in 45 minutes, that was a fantastic talk. The guys have taken apart the Google TV in the past, and they went for UART. So we tried the same. We also had a look on the board and tried to figure out where are pins or where are soldering points where we may add some pins. And we found that there are 2 pins that actually are candidates. You see them both in the picture here. And a little bit of measuring around and stuff like this, we found out that the one in the front that's closer to the chassis, that's actually a standard UART. There's RX, there's TX, 2 ground, and a 3.3 volt pin. And here's the warning. If you want to try this at home, it's 3.3 volts and your PC is 5 volts. You can burn either your PC, you can burn the box, or you can burn the, for example, USB to UART converter. I've burned 3. That was my lesson learned of not buying cheap stuff from Taiwan. So what do you get after you attach a serial console? So when you boot up, you get all kinds of information about the system. Where are the images stored? What else is, where are configurations? What is currently loaded? Which drivers are loaded? And actually when you have the system up and running and see the screen of the system and you push a button on the remote control or something, it tells you exactly which button you pressed and which actions are taken in order to get there. So this is perfect debugging. Perfect. When it was finished, you see something like this. I told you they like MD5s, so you see an MD5. And you see login. What's the password? That's a chance for winning another beer tonight. Admin. It's not that easy. It's not as easy as hacker, as admin, as OEM root or something. These guys like MD5s. Let's have a look. Sorry? MD5 average admin. Yeah, it's close, but it's not quite. It's a little more sophisticated. Actually, I talked to another guy a few minutes earlier, and he said, actually, at least they did one thing right, but let's have a closer look. So, the shadow file actually exists in TMP shadow, and ETC shadow is just a link to that. And we found the hash in there. And started John the Ripper, obviously, because we wanted to find out what it is. But that didn't get us very far quickly, so we started investigating it a little closer. And I told you, the serial line is very helpful for debugging. There was actually one line saying password for root changed. And as you can see from the screenshot, there are also like other information about like which modules are started before and which modules are loaded after. Lots of stuff like this. So this was really helpful to triage which module or which program was actually responsible for this. There's a tool called gbus read serial num, and that's located in a folder that is not inside the original firmware image. It's actually an encrypted addition to the file system using AES encryption, which is later on mounted to user local S-bin. And here you find some security by obscurity because it's located in /home/file. And that's containing a lot of interesting information. I've also put the information in here how you can actually extract the AES key, but I'm not going to go into the details. That's more for reference. So here's how it looks visually. We have in the home folder a file called file. We have the AS key in ROM. And afterwards, stuff is extracted to a folder or mounted into a folder, user local S bin. And we have this program. And there's also another program in there, which is 13 megabytes in size, called DMA OSD. Since this is an encrypted folder, we already thought this is probably very interesting. Let's have a closer look. But let's get back to what is the password. So once we had the program, we were actually able to reverse engineer the GBus read serial num, and we found out it's doing a system call. So system function call, not a system call. Where the serial number is used, the MD5 of that is actually produced, and that's the password. How do you get the serial number? Have a look at the box. Yeah, there's actually an easier way. Have a look at the login screen, because the serial number is the MD5 right in front of login. I didn't bring a serial cable, or I actually brought a serial cable, but since I blue screened my Windows a few times with a serial cable, I don't want to try it out here. We can try it out with Linux later, because that works much better. But I still want to demo to you guys how this actually looks like. Okay, login. Here's the password. Here's the password prompt. We want to log in as root. We need to copy and paste the serial. Oh, no, missed the one. Well, yeah. So I'm going to type it here. So you don't see that screen. That's just calculating the MD5 sum. And then move that over here. Paste. Hey, I have another root shell. And this was the password, by the way. Okay, you probably know this yourself. At this point in time, you say, yes! Right? Because you're root. Always feels good to be root. Especially on systems that you haven't been root on before. So that's the point in time when my wife came back in. Sounds good. Are you done yet? And I said, halfway. Okay, because the next step was actually to find out where are the apps located. And if you look around on the root file system or in the file system in general, you will find a lot of logos for the services and a lot of hints. And you find some DRM files, but there are also some apps for which you only find the logos and nothing else. One of them is redbull.tv, AOL, Build.de, and some others. So we were really wondering, where are the apps, especially for those? And then we had a closer look at this process. DMA OSD, the on-screen display. This is the last process that started as part of the init process. If this process dies, the whole box automatically reboots. There's a watchdog around it. It's located in the encrypted partition that we were talking about with AES before. And this single process uses up 150 megabytes of the 200 available on the box. So it seems like this is an important piece. And looking more closely into this process, we actually found some hard-coded URLs in there. Like, for example, hdaol.com/westerndigital.htm and some others. Okay, and when you go to these web pages, and now I have to check the resolution of the projector here. Let's go to AOL. It's hard to see on AOL. Let's try this Russian framework, this Russian site. So this is a Russian video site, and basically you can buy or stream videos from there. And what you see is there's a white bar at the very bottom. That's not part of the design. So if you go to these web pages with your browser, you see that they are exactly 1280 times 1024 pixels in size, and that's exactly what the box is displaying on your TV. So these pages are made specifically so that a browser on this machine, this box, can access them and you see what you're supposed to see. Okay, so that gives us some pointers. Some more information about this DMA OSD executable and where the browser is. So it's 13 megabytes, and that's huge, especially for embedded devices. It's actually quite big already for x86, but on a small embedded device like this, it's huge. And the reason for this, everything is linked in statically. There's a Qt-based web browser in there. There are libraries for HDMI, for accessing the hardware codecs. There is logic in there to automate USB sticks, check for firmware, automatically sync with a hard drive, stuff like this. It controls the network shares. There's an update daemon in there. Obviously the renderer for the on-screen menus. And it, on start, loads all pictures that it finds in some specific folders on the disk, all into memory. So this is actually the piece where you want to dig deeper in case you want to really modify the on-screen display and add, for example, new TV stations. So the next step that we did in order to understand more of the logic in there was to create a GDB server, put it on the box, so that we can attach a debugger on the box where it is running, and then control this from another machine. The information on this slide is just for your reference in case you want to try it out too. This is the compilation chains. The nice thing is, if you're already reverse engineering the whole thing and are running IDA Pro has a GDB stub already built in, and they support MIPS. So you can actually use IDA Pro right away to debug this process. Unfortunately, it breaks sometimes. So don't fully rely on it. This has actually cost a few evenings. Okay, actually at this point my wife came back and looked over my shoulder and said, "You are again looking at assembly. What's the status?" "The program is starting soon, I want to see it." I said, I'm making progress, but yeah, let's see. So now we know there's a web server on the box, right? And there's one nice thing. The broadcaster, das Erste, they have a live stream. They have a live stream on the internet. And let's see. I need to check out it. Obviously, there's no Tardot running at the moment. Let's see if we can actually get a live stream there, because they block some content to other sites. No, unfortunately not at the moment. I was hoping that they're streaming at least the news. They are not. But we'll still show you how this stuff works. So this time I was dedicated to go for the low-hanging fruits, you know? In this case, the low-hanging fruits are actually go into the process, search around, where are the URLs, the hard-coded URLs, and maybe just patch one or two to actually add the favorite TV station that we want to have. Okay, switching back to the box. So, so 1206 is the process ID that we want to patch. 1206. And we want to let's take, for example, the Red Bull entry, Red Bull TV entry. And we redirect it to Google in Germany. Okay, so what this little tool does is it attaches via ptrace and then searches the whole memory for the sequence that we've given there. So in this case, connected.redbull.tv/Western Digital. And once it finds this pattern, it just overwrites it with whatever we've given afterwards. Actually, we found out that the address never changed, so there's no address randomization or stuff like this. But in order to keep the tool flexible for also future versions, we've kept it this way. And here we go. Here we have found it. And now I do the dangerous switch. Okay, so now you see the box in action. And you see all kinds of services that are on the box. And you also see Red Bull TV. So now in the background, it basically prepares everything for the Qt browser to start up. And then once the browser is started up and is running, the box reaches out to google.de, fetches the web page. Unfortunately, defcon.org has been a few times down this morning, at least on the defcon connection, so not able to do that. Okay, perfect. So now we are able to redirect it to whatever web page we want to. This was the point where I did the biggest mistake in the overall process. So because I knew there was a page where there was a live stream and I was able to patch the browser, I told my wife, I have it, I'll be done in 5 minutes. Have you ever told your wife you're done in 5 minutes? And then you know Murphy's Law, it usually takes 5 hours or more. Same here. So, quickly changing to the new URL, I got something which looked like this. The point was that this codecs that they returned to the browser of the box did not match any of the hardware codecs that were actually on the box. Oh man. So, quite there yet, but not quite. So, fortunately, the serial console actually was providing some more information. Once the browser starts, it tells you which codecs it actually loads and supports. And then it was only a matter of finding out, are there other streams that we can actually leverage, that we can use from this broadcaster. And after looking around and matching and trying out a lot of things, finally we were able to create a small web page that selected a specific codec and also made it work. So let's try this. So we want to go from so now we have patched it to HTTP www.google.de, and we want to take it. Just a second, I have to go back to another slide where I have the original URL. I don't want to mistype anything. The problem is if I mess up with the box at this point in time, it takes at least 3 minutes to reboot, so I try to avoid this as much as possible. Okay. So the process ID was 1206. Okay, looks good. So again, attach pretrace, search the memory, and this time we want to remove google.de and override it with a page that we have put on the local drive. And now you can see actually the URL again, /user, which automatically gets you from the root of the web server down to the page that you can upload. Okay, that takes a few seconds. Here we go. Let's switch back, and unfortunately we have to restart Red Bull, not the whole box fortunately. So the page is up a little bit quicker now. Now it's trying to get the stream, and at least we should get the stream that's saying you're not supposed to see this program. Takes some time, needs to buffer, and actually they are really streaming the message, you're not supposed to see this. Maybe today. Oh, actually, wow. So now we are progressed already a bit further. That's the weather. Perfect. Ah, nice. You know, finally we were able to watch Tart out. You know, it feels so good if you can finally please your wife, especially after you've put so much effort into it. So I've told you that actually this show is quite old, it's from the 70s, right? They change actors, fortunately. So this is actually one of the famous German actors. He has also played in some American movies. Does somebody recognize him? Who is it? Till Schweiger is his name. And he has played, for example, the Nazi killer in Inglourious Basterds. Maybe you remember that one, Quentin Tarantino movie. And he's now also on the show again, after having played with Quentin Tarantino. Nice. Feels good. Unfortunately, and the talk this morning was quite good about it, you want to own the software. You want to own the software in the system and not just the hardware. The stuff that I've shown you is not really owning the software because nothing of what has been done so far is persistent. Everything was just done in memory or on a running system. And it actually is not that easy, it turns out. Even though you root, you cannot modify the file system, for example. The reason for that is everything is stored in read-only memory. And when the system is booted, everything that needs to be changed, like, for example, the shadow file, hosts file, you name it, everything gets copied to /tmp and is used from there, and you only see symlinks to there. The reason for that is quite simple. If you just pull out the power or have a power outage or whatever, you can never break the box because you will always get a clean copy from ROM, and everything that's volatile is basically gone. The configuration is also stored in a specific region in the ROM or in the flash memory. You just got to make sure that you don't have a power outage during reflashing or changing configuration settings. But for us, this was a bit tricky because we really wanted to be persistent. And most of the stuff that you see, like in red, I've marked everything that's not changeable, like /opt, root, user local sbin, the encrypted file storage. The only thing that's really persistent and lives long is the hard drive. And we wanted to be persistent. So, some more requirements. We wanted to actually try to keep this clean reset scheme that you at any point in time can unplug the system and it still works. It should be persistent and it should be writable. So it would be possible, and based on the information that we had, to actually flash the drive every time we want to have a change. Or to somehow use the hard drive. If you flash a device often enough, especially when you experiment with the firmware, I promise you at one point you will brick it. And I only had one device, and my wife didn't want to get didn't want to lose this feature. So I had to make sure this device stays up and running. So another requirement, or another thing that we were a bit scared to do, is we didn't want to patch the main image. We only want to patch the second image because the main image was full of MD5 sums and integrity checks. Investigating the boot process, we actually found something that was very interesting. There's the init process, which starts run all, which runs a tool called dmaosd.sh, which is later on starting the main executable. But this script is looking for another script called optqt bin runqt in the op partition. And this script wasn't there. So it's looking if this file is present. If it's there, it's executing it. If not, it doesn't do anything. So that's perfect. They have taken out a file and have left the executable in the boot process for us to just place it there. Very kind of them. There's only a little challenge with this. The challenge is this script is run first, and only after it returns, the main process, the main executable is started. And the main executable, dmaosd, is actually responsible for mounting the hard drive. So we cannot modify anything to load additional stuff from the hard drive until this final process is started. So that's not an overly tough challenge, I admit that. So what we did is basically returning from runqt and start a background process, which is monitoring for the hard drive to come up, but just in the background. So is the hard drive up yet? No? Okay, let's wait 5 seconds. There yet? No? Just wait 5 seconds. At one point, the hard drive is there, and then we can basically continue to load stuff from there and execute it. So this way we have created a second stage Linux start, and if you look at SMB, you see it here. There we have an init script. You just upload it to the root folder via SMB, and you have your own new boot process. Second stage, obviously. On the device itself, it's in a different path, but that's okay. So now you can start to modify via SMB the firmware as much as you like, and any change, anything you do can be reverted. Actually, there are some limitations to that. You can only do stuff outside the rootfs, or you have to remount it. And all of the processes are already running, So you cannot really modify them except of patching them with ptrace or something like we did. So the nice thing about this firmware extension is you can undo everything via SMB. You just go there via SMB, change the files back to what they were before, and if you completely mess up the systems, you just remove all of the files and you're good to go again like the firmware was originally. If you even mess up SMB, you still have the option to take the hard drive out, put it in a normal PC, and undo all the changes. So, very convenient way to experiment without any risk of breaking the box. So this was the techie part, and usually there's no good party without lawyers. So do we have some lawyers in the room?
No good party without lawyers.
Come on, there must be some lawyer in the room. Or at least usually there's somebody who's saying, hey, you were talking about Linux, what about GPL violations? And actually, yeah, Western Digital has been thinking about GPL violations. And they are making their firmware available as a GPL variant. Okay, now you might say, why the heck did you spend all that time on changing the original firmware if you just download the original GPL firmware and upload that? There's actually a reason for that. Because if you go to the web page, there's a warning. Let me read the last sentence to you. Once you install third-party or user-modified firmware, even if the product is rolled back to the original firmware from Western Digital, access to certain features will be disabled. What does that mean? That means they delete all DRM keys if they find out you're uploading the GPL firmware. So, no more Spotify. There have been some complaints in forums where people have not been able to access Netflix, for example, anymore. So, unfortunately, this doesn't give you the full feature set. With the firmware that we are going to release, we have not seen the loss of any DRM keys, but still we don't want to give any guarantee for that, obviously. But since we just slightly patched the original firmware, we actually don't expect it to blow up. Disclosure, next political topic. I looked up on Shodan. There were a little more than 500 boxes which were openly accessible on the internet. 500. There are a lot more, obviously, in houses and closed networks. I heard some estimations there between 10,000 and 100,000 boxes out there. So, but still 500 that are openly there, not password protected. You can upload stuff via SMB in most cases. And people might now say, Felix, there are two remote ways how to get into the system with this. You should talk to the vendor. And I tell you, I've tried to. I've tried so hard. I've filed an official support case. I've contacted their press, because they are usually the ones who are most interested in saying, hey, I want to present about this at a con. They say, oh, okay, let's fix it first. I've talked to their product marketing. I've tried to reach out to Western Digital people on security mailing lists. Unfortunately, the answer was always, thanks for contacting Western Digital. We will forward your request to, and it feels like death null. Even pinging them and asking, hey, what's the status? Quiet. Do we have anybody from Western Digital here tonight? If you know anybody at Western Digital, I really am interested in getting some of the stuff fixed because it's just too open. So if you know somebody, let me know and we can make some progress. Staying in the political field, I know that some of you like conspiracy theories. I have one too. So if you think about this, you know, they have some serious bugs. Some of them really look intentionally, like symlinks on a root web server pointing right to a world writable folder. On the other hand, you have some stakeholders like providers of DRM-based services, like Netflix, Spotify, and so on, and they don't want to put their services on devices which are known to be open. So, why don't you just leave some backdoors in there that are easy to find, that satisfy the community, and at the same time satisfy the needs of the other stakeholders? Okay, that's just my conspiracy theory and another topic for some beers tonight. What's the outlook? Let me first explain my situation now. 2 months after we were finally able to watch Tatort every Sunday evening, thanks to the help of modifying this device, we moved houses and got a new cable TV provider. Guess what? In their standard portfolio was that broadcaster, das Erste. So I was able to please my wife for 2 months. Now it's another entity that's doing that every Sunday evening. Maybe life is better for you. First, again, the disclaimer: in case you lose your DRM keys or break your box, it's not our problem. This firmware is just for educational purposes. But if you are now interested in actually getting it, and it will also be on the last slide, and obviously we'll give the slides out, it's on wdtv.uphero.com. You can download there. You can also download our version of the second stage init script, in case you don't want to create your own, and you can modify it from there. And now you can go and, based on the techniques that presented here, patch the system to add your own TV channels. Or if you want, for example, to have torrent on the box because it's low power consumption and you want to watch the videos on there anyways, you can add torrents, a BitTorrent on there. Or if you have problems not seeing other countries' streams because you're IP limited, GeoIP limited, you might even add VPN services to it. And if you're really crazy, you can also find a MIPS version of Bitcoin mining and try to hammer the box with some Bitcoin mining. But you won't get rich with this. Just a hint, you can use Debian squeeze packages for MIPSL and simply upload the executables and libraries to the box, and most of them work right away. We have not been the first ones to actually research this. There's an awesome guy called B-Red, and he has done fantastic work on the previous boxes from Western Digital. Most of them were without storage, but you should definitely go and check out his pages to get some more inspiration. So that leaves us with 3 minutes left for questions, and here's also the URL again in case you want to try out and play a bit with the firmware. Where was the alcohol?
Let's give him a hand one more time. Great talk. Now, one thing, I don't know if you guys have been noticing, but a lot of our speakers that have earned their merits have been getting these patches. How many people here think that Felix's wife should get a patch too? Nice.